Hello, my name is Dr. MarkAlain Dery, and I'm the Medical Director of Infectious Diseases, and I am the Chief Innovation Officer for Access Health Louisiana. You've seen me do these updates now for the past few months in conjunction with the leadership of the ACOI, and I hope these messages are helping you to keep up with the latest on COVID-19. I know that many of you are in the thick of the fight, and I'd like to thank you on behalf of all of us who focus on infectious diseases for a living, and certainly, of course, on behalf of the ACOI. I live in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I serve as co-chair for the ACOI Infectious Diseases Subspecialty Section. As we are facing this once-in-a-lifetime global battle, I want to hear from you, my colleagues, who are experiencing the fight from their locations, no matter where you are in the country. I provide my contact information at the end of each update, so please listen for that, and I hope you take me up on this invitation to reach out. Moving forward together with the ACOI, we will continue to share information as it becomes available, as well as some of the hopeful progress that we are seeing. Also, for more information on the ACOI's new peer-to-peer well-being check-in sessions available free of charge to ACOI members, please go to acoi.org/COVID-19 and click on the box so you can find out how you can join in. These Zoom sessions are an awesome way to feel connected and support during this challenging time, and let me tell you, they are great sessions. So, let's get started. So let's talk about how teens are helping seniors. This is a great story. So given all the extra tensions in the country right now and this week, I want to start with some really positive news. And I have to admit that I get really excited when I run across these rare feel-good stories that remind me of just how many good people there are really in the world. And when it's young people who capture the limelight for a good deed or compassionate heart, I get even more excited. So I was reading a story about how two teen boys in Maryland, and at the start of the pandemic in early March, each boy started helping his grandparents by making trips to the grocery store and delivering food and supplies to their doors so that they could avoid possibly being exposed to the virus. After providing the service to the grandparents, the two boys, one who was 16 and the other one who was 15, got to thinking that there must be other senior citizens out there who need food and supplies, but may not have anybody who can help get those food supplies to them. That's when they started a volunteer organization called Teens Helping Seniors for the purpose of getting groceries, prescriptions, and other supplies delivered to the doorstep of those who weren't able to get out and get them for themselves. At first, their vision was to enlist their classmates who no longer had school to attend, as the health crisis, of course, closed schools, but soon their vision expanded as demand increased. By the end of the second week, I love that. By the end of the second week, they developed a chapter in Albany, New York, and today there are more than 12 chapters in the US and one in Canada. How awesome is that? Most of the teens and other chapters have their driver's license, but for the founders in Rockville, Maryland, they did not. So these guys are actually relying on their bikes, walking or carpooling to get their groceries purchased and delivered. To date, their chapter has completed 350 deliveries, and now they have over 250 volunteers. What's really cool is how strangers, teens and seniors who normally would not cross each other's paths, are now connecting and forming relationships. One volunteer even made a birthday cake for one senior who was turning 85. Certainly, these acts of kindness are not only filling the pantries of the lonely seniors in need, but I think are also giving them something to look forward to and seeing regularly. And with social distancing and isolation being a real threat to our elderly's mental health state, more than likely that's an unexpected bonus. And like me, it's hopefully giving them some hope that there's still a lot of goodness left in the world. These kids are making deliveries, by the way. They're wearing gloves and masks, which leads me to a story that I'm hoping gets plenty of exposure about the importance of wearing masks and gloves. And that is this great story that was in the Lancet about physical distancing, face masks, and eye protection that can prevent person-to-person transmission. And again, this was a meta-analysis that was not necessarily surprising to me, and probably not necessarily to you, but I think it's still important to discuss. And again, the Lancet announced the results of this first of its kind study that shows just how vital masks are for virus transmission reduction. And what happened is that the study looked at 3 measures separately: face masks, social distancing, and then also eye protection. Since we know that SARS-CoV-2 virus spreads person to person through close contact and causes COVID-19, social distancing, in other words, staying away from people, is the best way to avoid catching the virus. But the research also found that without a mask, social distancing, or any other preventative measures, the risk of transmission from the coronavirus is 17.4%. If you add a mask or a respirator, those N95s, that number drops down to 3.1%. Also, in their study, which was a combination of 172 observational studies across 16 countries and 6 continents, they discovered that the transmission was lower with physical distancing of 1 meter or more, which is, of course, just over 3 feet. Now, with less than a meter of distance and no other protective measures, the research found that the risk of transmission was 12.8%. With more than 1 meter of distance, that was actually 2.6%. Wow. All right. Now, while we've been hearing that 6 feet is the magic number of safe social distancing, experts are saying now that increasing that to 7 feet could have the risk of infection even more. Now, when you're talking about eye protection, the Lancet this Lancet study also found that the rates of transmission dropped from 16% without eye protection and no other measures to 5.5% with eye protection, specifically face shields and goggles. Now, the main reason is that the barrier prevents our hands from touching our eyes, hence reducing the risk of virus entering our eyes. So, this data supports the continued messaging of public health interventions as stay-at-home restrictions are starting to loosen. And we know that distancing, masking, and now eye coverings are helpful to decrease the likelihood of viral transmission. We reported here on this vlog podcast, what do we call this? Videocast, a few weeks ago about a positive COVID-19 patient who's also a journalist and a virologist who flew from New York to here in New Orleans to report on COVID-19 in New Orleans. Now, his claim, which is valid for as far as I'm concerned, is that he was infected on the plane from New York to New Orleans. He was not wearing glasses and he did not have eye protection on the flight. Let's also be clear is that the eyes do have ACE2 receptors. And so ACE2, of course, are the receptors that the virus attaches to get into cells. All in all, this Lancet study lends credence to his claim, this virologist's claim, but more importantly underscores the continued importance of these non-pharmacologic interventions. So in conclusion, please stay on the lookout for these regular updates. And to read more from the sources used in this report, go to the acoi.org/COVID-19 website. Together with the ACOI, we will help you have the latest information to help you respond to your patients and to stay on top of the crisis. Also, of course, as always, I enjoy it. Please feel free to reach out to me directly at madery@mac.com. Please stay safe. We can do this together.